this, and this is not usually in our purview, but it's
Ah.
so bad that
Oh,
we
God.
really need to cover this. This is bad. And so one of the concerns I have about YouTube is that, of course, I cover Disney, and I also try to explain entertainment at large. And so I cover gaming, I cover travel, I cover Star Trek, for example, is not part of Disney. When I do those things, though, the viewership is down, and I don't think it's because people lack interest. I think it's got something to do with the algorithms. This is one of those situations where it does me no good to cover this in traditional video format because very few people will see it compared to if I put anything out related to Disney. Again, algorithm related. But this is so egregiously terrible that we must cover this and call this out. Now you might say, what are we talking about? Well, this is a post from the director of Overwatch 2, and I use that 2 very loosely here because it doesn't deserve a 2 on it. And I'll explain.
No.
This is Aaron Keller of Blizzard Entertainment. This we won't even read it. I'm gonna people. It's linked in the description. You can go click on it and see it. But here's what's bad about this. And there's a huge. This is damage control is what we're looking at. This is a game that was released as a sequel months ago.
Sorry.
And what they did is they stripped out all of the stuff that made it special, and then they put this 2 on it to make it seem like it's a sequel when there was essentially very little new content that would have been fine to release as some sort of just ordinary expansion or continued live service product. But what they did is they put the 2 on there explaining that the actual new stuff was coming soon. And then gamers and consumers and players came back to this once game of the year. They purchased the stuff to get them into the battle passes, etc., believing that there would be this content. Now we could go in the weeds and say that it's PvE content, it's a story mode, etc. That's not necessary. All that's necessary to know is that this company released a sequel, and now based on this game director, the reason they're doing damage control is because they had already decided before the game came out that they were never going to make the game. And so they sold Blizzard Entertainment, Activision Blizzard, sold this game knowing that they were never going to make the game.
Wow.
Now, we could get into the nuance of how this works out, how they trick people and all of that. He made a faux pas in an interview and admitted that the decision came like a year and a half ago, which clearly means that this company had people buying content knowing that they would never actually release anything. Will it rise to a class action lawsuit? I don't know. I don't know what will happen there. I do know that if we take a look at this, they're talking about the death of Overwatch 2 PvE, meaning the story mode, is hitting players hard after years of waiting. Overwatch 1 died for this. And basically the company downgraded their game in every single way, monetized it tremendously, and then lied to their consumers in order to have those consumers purchase at a high price point. The other part about this, and this is why it's worthy of our coverage today in what we're doing today, we're covering the hypocrisy of these corporations, and this is extreme. This company then, directly following, basically coming out and saying, these years and years that you've been waiting for this, and they announced it in 2019 with a giant cinematic and all of this stuff, and it was, they built it up and people were buying the game. The way that they managed this crisis, and this is just horrendous, is that they released then, almost immediately afterwards, a Pride celebration where they made a great number of their characters be LGBTQ+. They forced every single consumer out there who plays their game to accept Pride icons of various degrees. You cannot not accept it. They don't do that in the places that it would cost them money. But I believe, I really do believe this, that this company, this Activision Blizzard, is so callous and so terrible that they did that immediately following this news that they have ripped off consumers at large in a way that you almost never see this kind of a thing. But they did that Pride event with the controversial system of forcing players to take those icons in order to create a new narrative, and thereby people who are mad at the game or mad at the company could be slandered as being against this event rather than having spent money absolutely pointlessly in mass based on lies that have occurred for years. So I just wanted to bring that up. Normally that would be a longer discussion. Steven, I know you've played Overwatch.
I played with
What
you,
do you think about
it? I actually want to jump in on this too, because we've actually played. You guys can find it later with Homer Simpson. But not only did they pull the biggest EA Battlefront 2 loot box with promising a single player campaign and then saying, surprise, the mechanics we're just not going to do. That's literally what they did. They have been upping the prices, locking the characters with Overwatch 2 behind, like you have to play a certain amount of hours to unlock them, or you can pay for the pass to unlock them. You can find a keychain online that costs less than the same keychain digitally in their store. They have gone nothing but heavy monetization. And I agree with you. They're using this whole icon pack, and it's every flag under the sun. I'm not joking. Like, I've seen them, all the flags, all these character banners. They've put the Pride paint on the sidewalks in the maps. They use it as a shield.
That's exactly right, Stephen. What I really take issue with.
They Reinhardted it.
They put all that there so that they could create division. In my opinion, they literally are manipulating the response in order to try to defer the accusations against them. And they're just a terrible company. But here's the other thing about it.
When you think about, and Paul has talked about this, when people protested in the 70s and 80s and the 90s for gay rights, and were actually harmed in the process of protesting for visibility, to think about a company like Activision with all of their problems, and Blizzard's the same company.
Or horrendous company.
Yeah. To think about this as, oh no, they're using them as protection now. That is pretty low.
Well, and this is how it ties back into Disney, is that Activision Blizzard, they have been so terrible for so long. And I mean, they are awful. There are things about this company we can't even describe on this stream, is how bad they are.
That's because we don't own phones.
I canceled my BattleNet account.
Really?
Well, I don't blame you.
Yep.
It pains me because they made some of the greatest games of all time.
Yep. They absolutely were a very hip, great game company. That's for sure.
Paul, what they did is they ran off their geniuses, and geniuses are hard to come by, and they ran them all off. And
some of it was Me Too.
Yes, that.
Me Too'd.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that. But also, they would do these situations where they would at the corporate level, at the C-suite level, they would conspire in these ways to not follow the traditions of their company in terms of providing quality, but rather rip off the consumers. And thereby, you would have people like Mark Kern or like Chris Metzen or like Jeff Kaplan who decided, we're geniuses. We have created these fantastic games, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, etc. And we're leaving this company because it is an awful place that does awful things. Now, the issue there is, just like with Disney, people are saying, well, why can't Pixar make a good film? Or why can't Disney Animation Studios make a good film? Why can't Blizzard make a good game? Well, because they became so depraved that the people who could do those very special things have left. And you can't just replace geniuses. You just can't replace the highest end producers.
Yeah, I know.
You can't replace Paul Chatto, people.
Yeah. Tell me about the geniuses.
It's interesting, Pro, that you should mention that about Blizzard, because for people who know, I just recently started getting back into gaming, and Activision was a gaming company that I knew from like back in the day that made some of my absolute favorite games, some which, still traumatize me to this day. But then finding out just what Blizzard had brought them, and just the nonsense that went on, like the quip I think Steven said, where I guess the guy from Blizzard's like, what, you guys don't have phones?
Ooh. I think I know what we're about
just
to
was
get.
wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the number of consumers right now who purchased all kinds of content for a game that will never come out? They will not be refunded. How they must feel. They, I think, are feeling the exact same way, and Blizzard is just saying,
you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. But isn't that fraud if they intentionally knew they were going to deceive people?
Well, you know, I can't say that, and there are all kinds of legal loopholes.
Allegedly.
But I'll tell you this: I won't be surprised if there's some action. And yes, look at that, StarCraft 2 in the box, a beautiful game. David Browder was the game producer on that one.
There's two things to also add to this. They just annihilated their devoted Twitch streamers who literally make income playing this game nonstop. They have already done enough annihilation with this, with the way they changed the ranked mode and pissed off a lot of players. It's been nonstop with Overwatch. But now the eyes are all on Diablo 4.
I think this has actually harmed Diablo 4.
It has. Because if you can't get a refund for what they did with Overwatch, you can still get a refund on your purchases for Diablo 4.
Yep. I think it's very rare that I would say that one game's damage would harm another game, even within the same company.
They're the Disney of video games.
This has enraged people.